Hi guys, welcome back to another For Those Who Code video. This channel is where we discuss and learn new skills around the topics of design and development. If you want to grow your skills and learn new things that are coming up, please subscribe for more videos just like this. Don't forget to smash the like button for me. This really helps me to create more content. Let's start with an awesome news for full stack React developers out there. There are tons of improvements and changes that comes with Next.js 13 as presented in the Next.js conf recently, which is just a few days back, and we are going late guys. So we'll be definitely be diving into the awesome Next.js 13 features, but in this video we'll be focusing more towards specific features. And I'm in their official homepage, and they have added a few new sections to introduce the new Next.js 13 features with the awesome new animated cards. And these are all the features that are introduced, which is great. And we are pretty much interested towards a specific feature which we'll be covering in this video, which is dynamic social cards powered by Vercel edge functions. So OpenGraph image generation is what we'll be using with Next.js 13, right? The latest release of Next.js in this video. So we'll be learning about how we can create a static and dynamic images with OpenGraph image generation using Vercel OpenGraph image generation feature. Well, this feature, as you can see here, is introduced in October 10, 2022. Right. So moreover, Vercel has also announced the awesome breaking improvements and changes to their Next.js framework. And before we begin, let's take a look at this particular image. Do you think that I created this in a design tool like Figma or Sketch? I need this to be my YouTube thumbnail, guys. So I need them. Yeah. It looks like I used the design tool, but you are mistaken. I didn't even touch the design tools, guys. So it's all done with the new libraries from Vercel OG. So this looked like just an image, static image, but this is a dynamic image. So we can change the contents inside this card on the fly, on the demand in the edge function. So there are a couple of terminologies that we need to understand before we begin. So first things first, before we begin, let's first talk about what is OpenGraph, right? So this is the reference of document that I have. And by the way, if you want to jump to a specific part of the video, you can jump in the timeline, add it down in the description. So this is the awesome page that Copy Fayok have written about, which is OpenGraph. And OpenGraph is like internet protocol that was originally created by Facebook to standardize the use of metadata with the web page to represent the content of the page. So it's just a standard allowing developers to specify an image and other metadata to be displayed while sharing links on the web page through the platforms like Twitter, Facebook, Slack, and even text messages. Please take a look at this particular image. As you can see here, there's a link up there, which is just HTTPS and some random URLs there. And down there, the image URL has an image, and they have a couple of like metadata, so to say. This is what it looks like when you have the OG image, OpenGraph image added to your website. And definitely while sharing links on the social medias or chat, we want our application links to look like this. Awesome, right? So now we can achieve this in various ways, but Vercel new library have us fully covered to achieve this. And it's definitely not complex as it sounds, right? The OpenGraph protocol, which is a specific protocol introduced by Facebook, now supports any software that previews URL for you go, right? So as you can see here, you can see this image and freecodecamp.org and how to become. These are properly done with the OpenGraph image generation. And what happens if we don't have it? Well, it looks something like this, right? And if we have it, then it looks something like this. That's a difference. That's a big difference, actually. So if you want to dissect it more about the Open Graph, then you can read this article. But this is just a general overview of OG image, image description, URL, and all this stuff, which we'll be diving into using the Vercel age function and the newly introduced library, Vercel OG. All right. Now, another terminology that we need to understand is the edge function. What is the edge function and what is serverless? All right. So, with the introduction to edge function, it has been a lot of easy and a lot of blazingly fast performance, right? Edge functions are just a function that allows the us to deliver the content of to your site visitors with the speed of personalization. And this is deployed globally by default on Vercel Edge Network and enabled you to move server-side logic to the edge, closer to your visitor's origin. For example, I'm surfing internet from China, and I get the server, the edge function request that I did from near to my origin, which may be India, which may be Nepal, which may be Bhutan, and all the stuff. All right. So this is just an edge function, and definitely you can read the docs. I am the Harry Potter, and the documentation is my book of spells. All right, so you can definitely take a reference to the awesome documentation that Nextjs team have compiled, and this is another resource that I need to share about, which is we have the OG image playground as well, and this is just a static not dynamic. This is just a static text right here, which is hello world, and inline SVGs and inline styles with SVGs. Basically, what OG image generation does is just uses HTML and CSS and generates SVG on the fly. Isn't that cool, right? So it generates SVG on the fly. This is generated SVG, as you can see here. And I guess we could have the PDF and PNG, but we are focusing on generating SVGs, which with the help of just HTML, CSS, and a bit of JSX. All right. So here are a couple of examples of what you can achieve with the Vercel OG image generation. And the awesome thing is that the OG image generation also supports Tailwind, which is obviously in experimental mode. As you can see, Tailwind CSS experimental, and which is great. And there are also color modes. This is also a great resource that you could explore. And another resource is this particular thing, which is OpenGraph image generation. They have a couple of demos that that's added here, which is static text, Vercel card, dynamic text from URL query, embedded SVG, PNG dynamic, PNG custom fonts, emojis, language, encrypted token. So and another resource that I want to share is this particular thing called meta tags. Well, OG image generation helps us to generate some meta tags for us. So what are meta tags? Well, you can reference to this metatag.io website. What are meta tags and why are they essential? What's it to do with the SEO purpose and title tags and meta description OG image, which is this one, right? So you can go through this particular stuff that's shared with you down in the description below. So what are we building? All right, so we are building a dynamic and static image from this newly recently released library. And we'll be using most of the features. For example, as you can see, OG image example, we'll be using dynamic text generated as image, definitely, and we'll be using not external dynamic image, but we'll be hard coding that image currently, and we won't be using emojis in our image, but you can. We'll be definitely using SVG in our image. and we will be using a custom font, and we'll be using Tailwind CSS. Awesome. And yeah, we can use a different language and all encrypted parameters and all the good stuff you can find in OG image examples here, right? So let's take a look at what we are building. You can see here I'm spinning up localhost 3000, and this is the image that we have generated using the Vercel OG library. And this is all SVG generated from just HTML, CSS, and a bit of JSX. And yeah, this is all static for now. And let's take a look at what dynamic generated images look like. Now, if you take a look at this one is a dynamic image generation. For example, I can show you that we have the title here and write, "Hey coders." You can see that it changes the text inside here, and we can change the SVG from here or here or here. Anything as can be done. So OpenGraph, let's change this to Vercel is awesome, right? Cool, Vercel is awesome. So this is a sample of dynamic image that we'll be dealing with, and let's dive into code. So right now we are inside of VS Code. You can use any ID you want. So let's first start with creating a blank project from scratch, Next.js project, and we will add a latest here and add Typescript as our language of choice. So what's the project name? So we will just name OG image generation Vercel, and after that's done, we'll navigate inside that project, and probably we need to install some dependencies. So if we go to this particular link, and we can see all the step-by-step process that we can follow in order to achieve what we are trying to do. All right, so first things first, we need this particular package, which is awesome, Vercel OZ, and let's go to cd OG image Vercel and open that inside of code editor right here, right? So so inside here, probably we don't need to install any node models because it's there. Let's go to packages.json, and inside of dependencies we need to add this thing, which is npm I Vercel OG. And after installing, we need to go to the documentation and follow along. All right, so create an API endpoint. The next point that we are going to do is to create API endpoint inside of our pages directory. So let's go to pages, and we have our Vercel OZ installed here. Let's go to pages, and inside of API we will create a new file and call og.tsx. Right, so inside of og.tsx, I'm basically copying things down, but I have already written it before. So let's first import Vercel image response from Vercel OG, and definitely we need to add experimental flag like we have here. So let's go ahead and copy that. We can copy everything that we know and paste it right here. All right, so if we run this, this should print out hello world and something that we do see here, which is hello world, just a hello world, right? So let's go ahead and save it, and let's take a look at the browser, npm run dev, and spin up right here. Yeah, this is what it looks like, and it's just an SVG from scratch, right? It's just an SVG using some sprinkle of JavaScript or just JSX and HTML, CSS. And this looks good. This looks good so far. All right, so now let's move ahead and what we want to do first is to load up a custom font, right? So to load up custom font, we can go to this particular documentation. There are a lot of examples with dynamic title, dynamic external image, emojis, SVGs, custom font. Okay, we'll be using custom font. To use a custom font, we definitely need a font which can be grabbed with a fetch API. That's awesome. Native fetch API, and it's just a local path. So we'll just definitely going to adding up our local path. So let's copy some fonts here and let's paste it up right in here. So inside of our root folder, I'll just paste things up right here, paste, and this should bring up two fonts, which is Enter Black and Enter Medium, which is just a bolder font and just a medium font for now. And let's go ahead and like have our fetch for our fonts, and paste something like this, right? So basically we are doing a fetch for our fonts, which is located in the folder that we just created, and import meta URL, and we have our then as our callback, and it's adding it to the array buffer as we have it here, right? So it's in the .ttf file. All right, so after adding the font normal, now what we need to do is we need to do this stuff. Const font data is equal to await font. This font is this font right here. Right, so we have basically added two fonts, so we need to add two constants over there, and we need to basically wait for these fonts to load in, right? So after loading in that font, we have one last step, which is we need to add some font kind of thing over here. After here, you can see we have the fonts and all stuff. So we'll go through adding the inter font that we added, no, not this typewriter font, but the inter font, and paste the inter font here. Did I made anything wrong? Oh, cool. Yeah, it should be inside of this particular braces. All right, so let's okay, this is not async await function. We should wrap it with async, so we'll export default async function, and this will be fine. And let's format this a bit. We should add prettier, but anyway, for now, let's go ahead and refresh this. As you can see here, we did see a different font here, which is great, which is a great progress still so far. All right, so after adding fonts, what we want to do is we want to spice up our card a bit, and we want to use just we want to use Tailwind, right? We want to use Tailwind. So Tailwind, which is still in experimental mode, which is fine. We are just experimenting things out, and we are like we need to do is put this TW attribute, which looks fine, but they probably may change this, or this is fine for now. So let's go ahead and add some TW attribute inside of our div tags, right? So before we add TW attribute, let's spice up things up and add a pretty much linear gradient for our backgrounds right here. If we hit save, and if we go here and hit refresh, it should be something like this, which is great. All right, looking good so far. And we just have hello world there. We don't really want a hello world there, but what I want is I want to add two divs inside this, because it is flex parent flex with a space between, right? So we can add two divs inside this, right? So basically what I'm doing is I'm adding two divs with the TW attribute inside this. For example, we have this this was the wrapper flex with space between, and this is again another inline style. And by the way, not the external style, just the inline styles. And on the right, we have some SVG with some with this Nextjs with some the stack that we are playing with, and in the left we have this OpenGraph and dynamic OpenGraph and OG image generation with a bit of sprinkles of Tailwind classes. And if you don't know how to deal with the Tailwind classes, then we have the Flowbyte. You can take a reference to this particular link, which is Flowbyte. It's taking a reference from Product Hunt, but anyway, and we can search anything that you want. For example, padding, and you can add paddings classes and copy the stuff and take it inside of your code editor. All right. So after that's done, we hit a refresh, and we didn't save this. Yeah, and as you can see here, we just added a static image using this OG image generation, right? So this is just a static image. Now what we want to do is we want to switch on this static image and like switch on to a dynamic generated images. Let's do it. Again, let's take a look at the document reference dynamic text generated as image, which is awesome. And basically what we are doing is we are taking the request parameter and getting the URL out of the request, and which is the search param we just destructed. And search param, if it has a title, then we just slice if it's a long title, and we if no title is provided, my default title gets rendered, and we just simply use these handlebars kind of thing, just braces, and this is a dynamic. And how is this dynamic? Well, you can see that we can use something like this, which is the Vercel app/API. Until this point, we are like dealing with the folder structure that we created for the API endpoint, and after that we have the title, which is the title, and it's called my post title, and this is what it gets rendered, my post title. So similarly, what we can do is we want to go to our particular example here, and we want to get the next request and import it from the next server, and we want to deal with the search parameter, so to say. So and we will destruct the search param taken from request, and this particular request can be taken as a parameter inside this async function, and which is this particular type of this next request. All right. So and after getting the search param, what we want to do is we want to add a dynamic title and subtitle. So that's why we added title post and subtitle post, which we are getting from the title and subtitle that's passed in from the URL, right? That's passed in from the URL. After getting the title of the post, what we want to replace the title currently that we have here with the dynamic title. For example, dynamic OpenGraph, we want to replace it with this title that's passed in from the URL. And also this sub description thing, want to add this as a subtitle post. All right, looks good so far. Let's go ahead and save it, and if we take a look and refresh it, we won't be getting the title and subtitle because we haven't dealt with what if we don't pass it. But we can, but for now what we can do is we want to basically I'll copy and paste this URL, and as you can see, we just passed the title, which is dynamic OG, and the subtitle is OpenGraph image generator, right? And we can just pass any title that as we want. For example, let's write high coders, and as you can see here, we have high coders there, right? So and we can replace this subtitle with age function and OG. Awesome. All right. And as you can see here, we have the age function OG awesome. And this is basically an image that's been created and is SVG, fully scalable SVG. And even we can replace this SVG and this SVG, which we won't be covering in this video, but we can replace it. And for that, obviously documentation is the resource, and you can go to dynamic SVG section for that. And yeah, using an external dynamic image, something like this. And yeah, this is it. We just did our OpenGraph image generation using Vercel new library, Vercel OG, and generated images on the edge. Right. So guys, in this video we learned about how we can become fearlessly dynamic, and yes, and we did it in the age function, which is awesome. And we just started a static and dynamic image generated with Vercel age function and using the newly released library. I hope you learned something new from this. If you want to learn more around topics of design and development, please subscribe for more videos just like this. Don't forget to smash the like button for me. This really helps me to create more content. Thanks a lot, guys. See you in the next one.